Hey, volleyball fans, Coach Dennis here from Max Touch Volleyball. Today I'm going to continue with my series on offensive principles of play, and today we're going to work specifically with mobility. So let's get started. A couple of definitions before we get going here. The first definition that you need to know is what the principles of play are, and they are basically 6 building blocks that make up a great offense. Offense itself is simply trying to score, and we focus on serving, setting, and attacking. By the end of this presentation, you will know what mobility is, you will know why you need it, and you will know how to train it. So as you can see in this picture here, players, all 4 available attackers are moving from one space to another and preparing to attack. That's exactly what mobility is. It's simply movement from one space to another. Setters and hitters move differently, but ultimately they must move to a space before the ball gets there. Volleyball being very much a pattern sport, oftentimes you'll see things repeated over and over again, but sometimes stuff happens and you have to be able to improvise and move and make different decisions based on what happens in the game. The 3 fundamental movements are transition to attack, the actual attack, or covering if you are not the one who's attacking the ball. Mobility and communication go hand in hand. If you're a hitter and you want the ball, great idea to yell yes, yes, yes. And finally, tempos and speed, another fundamental building block of a good offense, go hand in hand with mobility as well. And so in order to execute on those, you must be able to move. So why do we want to use mobility? Well, as I said, volleyball is very much a dynamic sport, and there's constantly transitions from preparing, getting open, attacking, covering. Defensively, they don't know whether or not, based on the movements, whether they should commit to a blocker or a hitter, whether they have to, if they're communicating effectively, and they can ultimately get it confused. And here you're going to see what happens when a setter dumps. Lots of improvising going on, and watch this. The jump set, the dump, and they score. Finally, movement attracts blockers. So if you can make a blocker hesitate for just a split second, it puts you into an advantageous position. How do you train mobility? Well, at Max Touch Volleyball, we believe that training should be game-like, and that means that it includes reading, decision-making, scoring, and fun. We also suggest to mix things up and keep things fresh by incorporating everything from small-sided 1v1 games to 6v6 wash games. Today, we're going to have a 3v3 game called Dig or Die Monarchs. I think almost every volleyball team has at some point played king or queen of the court, or as I call it, monarch of the court. So it's just basically 3 people on one side versus 3 people on another, and the monarchs receive a serve and play the point out. Every time a player touches the ball in order to work on mobility, they have to do an ancillary move. So if they play the ball, then they have to dive and then get back into the play. And it will lead to a lot of fun, a lot of giggles, but it will teach your team that movement is constantly happening in this game. Ultimately, the monarch wins the rally, they stay and they get a point. If they lose, they leave the court, and the team who won the point crosses under the net and becomes the monarchs. One variation is you can do a 4v4 and do multiple moves after each touch. Conclusion. Ultimately, mobility is important because volleyball is a very dynamic sport, and it requires athletes to move in preparation for the arrival of the ball long before it actually gets there. We also have to move before it touches the ground, which is different than other sports. If coaches train mobility by incorporating reading, decision-making, and the belief that they can do it, coaches will see that their teams will have a lot of success and a lot of fun. As we say at Max Touch Volleyball, the best coach is the game, so get out there and play the game. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you liked it, click on that thumbs up. If you want to leave us a comment or a question, feel free to do so. Share it with a friend, or of course, you can click on that bell, and we will let you know as soon as new information comes out. Until then, get out there and play the game.